Hi, welcome to Glenohumeral Gurus, a podcast for clinicians with an interest in shoulder pathology. I'm your host, Margie Olds, and it's a pleasure for me to bring you these podcasts. The aim for the podcast is to deliver some clinically relevant content for you. I plan to interview people from all over the globe and talk to clinicians and researchers and anybody with an interest in shoulder pathology so that we can learn how to help these people better. So settle in and enjoy the podcast. Hey, it's my great pleasure to welcome Beate DeJaco to Glenohumeral Gurus to this podcast on virtual reality and all things shoulder rehab. So welcome, Beate. It's great to have you on board. Can you share with us a little bit about your physio career and your journey to what it is you do right now? Tell us your journey.
Well, it's been quite a long journey, even I don't feel that old, but I finished my bachelor in physiotherapy 25 years ago, and then started at the National Sports Medical Center in Arnhem, the Netherlands, as a junior physio. And then I started mostly to see musculoskeletal patients, and more I got involved in elite sports physiotherapy. So I was very lucky to have seen a lot of world championships and Europeans and Olympic games, 5 of them. And I was lucky to work with a lot of brilliant athletes. Then slowly my interest moved to shoulder rehab, because I saw a lot of overhead athletes. And from shoulder, I got in contact with Professor Lewis from the United Kingdom, and he actually brought me this brilliant idea to study virtual reality in shoulder rehab, which I first thought, well, I don't know, virtual reality, me, not so sure. But once I tried my first headset on, I realized the potential that medium could have in
Yeah.
patients. So then I slowly got really interested in it, and eventually I started a PhD trajectory on
Yeah,
it.
wow.
Yeah.
And you've published a case study, haven't you, already on the virtual reality
Yes, I
in
published a study on the validity of range of motion measurements in shoulder, a qualitative focus group study on physiotherapists using virtual reality in shoulder rehab, and a case report
Mm-hmm.
we did when, after we were treating a young female gymnast who stopped gymnastics because of her shoulder, with shoulder instability, and we tried virtual reality in
Yeah.
her. She was amazing what she did and what she showed at that time. So yeah.
Can you then share with us some of the theories around virtual reality, why we think it might be a useful adjunct to rehab, or is it the
Well,
only thing we should
yeah.
be moving to? Tell us what you know.
Well, I still don't know. We still don't know a lot of things. What we know is that virtual reality now has been proven over and over to be effective as a tool for pain management in acute
Mm-hmm.
pain situations, like burn wounds, treatments, acute pain on a in hospitals. And acute pain, we know, which reality helps, probably because of attentional shift and distraction.
Okay.
Now, slowly, we are seeing literature and studies being published about chronic pain. And
Mm-hmm.
in chronic or persistent pain, I'd rather use the term persistent pain, we know that distraction alone wouldn't solve the case,
Yeah.
wouldn't be effective. So next to distraction and next to attentional shift, embodiment seems to play a role, like changing, but being able to change body perception once you feel embodied, or you feel being another person in this
Mm-hmm.
3D world. And what I think, and I don't know yet, and I'd love to study that, but I think is that patients immersed in that 3D world, of course, being distracted, being somewhere else, maybe not seeing their own hand, but the avatar hand, don't
Yes.
know where they are in space and how far they move, how high they move.
Yes.
I have the sense when I see that in clinical practice, that are not afraid to move anymore. This is what the patient from the case report says.
Yes.
Also, physiotherapists in our qualitative interviews think that that could be one of the reasons it would work.
Yes.
And now in my next study, I do also a qualitative interview on patients, and I'm very curious about what they say.
Mm.
What is it? What do they think makes them
Yes.
move?
Yes.
But that could be one of the working mechanisms.
And
Yeah,
so, if I understand that correctly, they imagine themselves being a different person or being their avatar in this new virtual world. So they,
yeah, there are two important terminologies in VR, as far as
Mhm.
I interpret literature right. One is embodiment, and one is sense of presence. Now, sense of presence is when you are in the 3D world.
Yes,
Um, and Omar, you must have been there.
yes,
And a lot of people might have already played Beat Saber or experienced Rich's Plank. You
hmm,
don't see yourself. You don't even see your avatar, but you feel you're present in a world.
mm,
And that is sense of presence. And there are studies they say that the higher sense of presence, which asks a lot of, good technology, advanced technology, the more you feel present, the more pain reduction has been seen, and all other neurophysiological responses.
yeah,
That's one.
yeah,
Other studies saying that embodiment, feeling embodied in another person or avatar,
mhm.
that's elicits all the neurophysiological responses. Like if you have tried, which is plank, I don't know if you don't know, you're going into an elevator, you go up, 17th,
Oh, yeah, I know. And you walk out high.
and you walk out and you're in a
Yes,
plank, like 500 meters high, I don't know,
yes,
and you feel it. You get scared, you start sweating, you have definitely neurophysiological responses by just feeling that you're there. That's so strong.
yes,
Yeah, so we don't know yet whether one is better than the other or together, and what they exactly do.
yes,
But slowly we seem to understand that the more you feel present, the more you feel embodied, the more neurophysiological responses you show, and the more
okay,
pain reduction has been seen in one of the studies.
okay. So you and I connected specifically around kinesiophobia, in this population of people with shoulder instability. What can you tell us then about how virtual reality might work in that case, or how we could apply that? What are your thoughts there as regards to kinesiophobia? What do you?
So on kinesiophobia, there's been, as far as I know, one study published on studying kinesiophobia in lower back pain being
Mhm.
treated with virtual reality. And there, I thought that they found a decrease in kinesiophobia, funnily enough, with not so a high-end VR equipment, but even, maybe even 2D screens.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly, but they were able to decrease kinesiophobia. Um, this is that one article I've seen published. My clinical experience shows me that when I let people move, and I've tape recorded lots of them, they show movement like, 90, 100, 120 degrees and say it's painful, they can't move further, having no frozen shoulder, and having no um, anatomical problems seen on RX or ultrasound. And then within VR, they suddenly move higher, faster, smoother. And when I ask them why, and I show them the video recordings, they can see it. And then they say, okay, yeah, funny. I can move
Yeah.
further. So it seems like they're not afraid to move anymore in that other world.
Yes.
Also, I've done some, just in my clinic, not for my study yet, but I used the Tampa scale before the VR and
Yes.
after, and it was quite a big difference. Could
Yes.
have been the explanation, could have been me reassuring them that they're okay, they will be fine. I don't know. I just saw that after the VR, they had a
Yeah.
decrease.
And
Um,
that's been our experience as well in the clinic, where in whether you put them in the VR and the patients who are scared to move then move a little more. And what seems to be impactful is showing them how they moved afterwards. That seems,
exactly.
in my experience, seems to be the important step in that phase, because they're not really aware that they have moved like that until you show them then the recording of the video.
This is
And
very funny. This is what we see in clinic,
yes,
exactly. And I've been speaking to Professor Baker, Nancy Baker, some weeks ago in a conference, and she told me that her students and her researchers all were telling her that they sense that the debriefing, the simulation debriefing afterwards, might be one of the key factors. We don't know yet.
yes,
Um, and we were having this discussion with my research team. Shall we do it or not? Because you don't know if you have any effects, if that is the VR or the
yes,
debrief. Then I said, okay, but we wouldn't have any debriefing without VR. We wouldn't
yeah,
have that
you would have
discussion.
nothing to debrief. Yeah,
Exactly. So I think you can't just do one or the other, because it's a combination of using VR, and it's a golden moment.
yes,
Showing
but you
to the
could VR without a debrief, maybe, and then you would see how important each component is. Could you
I-
look at some people with a debrief and some people without? Is that what you're thinking?
in an ideal situation, if I would do an RCT, I definitely would. But I think we first would like to know, um, is VR effective in shoulder
Yes.
patients with chronic pain?
Yes.
Yes. In which category? Is it the frozen shoulder? Is it the instability patient? Is it the rotator cuff
Yes.
related? All, none. And
Yes.
then I would like to know if there's a difference between
Yeah, right.
your debriefing or not. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
my we talked about those neurophysiological responses, because my interest would be if you had VR and you put somebody in that virtual state. I'm interested in eliciting fear and trying to then give them graded exposure to that fear. That was kind of my thought, because I could put people then into a virtual world where their shoulders are not exposed from an instability point of view, but they would be exposed in that virtual world, but their shoulder wouldn't be exposed. And could you maybe, would that help then to treat their fear? Or could I, first of all, could I elevate their heart rate that way? I know about the, if you're I have a game on our virtual reality, the climb one that we sometimes
Yeah.
use, and I'm scared of heights, and so I feel that, when I'm hanging on the cliff
I
of a
definitely know
mountain,
what you're talking
you
about.
you
Yeah.
feel it, don't you? So I wondered if I could create that sense of fear with the elevated heart rate, the sweating, those kind of things. That's what but it seems so specific, and in New Zealand we see lots of traumatic rugby players, but I would have to create a virtual world there where somebody is running at my I think
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
it needs to be quite exact. Is that your experience, or what are your thoughts?
That's a very good question. I haven't been looking at fear by looking at something fearful yet.
Yeah, okay.
And I had used until now quite safe applications made for healthcare. So people
Yeah,
move very safely in a space where they, get some apples or strawberries, or they box maybe a little bit, but nothing was fearful in there.
yeah, okay.
So I couldn't tell. And this is where we just had a discussion before, Margie. I use it in early stage rehab.
Yes. Yes.
Whether you use it in the late
I've
stage.
been using it in late stage. So we have the Oculus and we use things like Resal Player One. We use it for reaction time. There's a wonderful thing where we can do reaction time. There's a hoops. We play hoops where the change of the ball then changes with the change in color of the opponent. And so you can really look at complex decision making in that virtual environment where my athlete is perhaps not ready to do that in a contested situation, but uncontested, they are still being exposed to that same stimulus. So that's where I've been using it. Although, we also have the Beat Saver. We have used it for climbers returning to climbing, but before they're actually ready, we have a tennis first person point of view. Do you have any thoughts for playing tennis? Do you have any thoughts on whether the person needs to have their point of view versus to look at themselves? I know that that point of view seems to be important as well. What are your thoughts? So, am I watching myself or am I watching the view of my hands and myself in that world? What are your thoughts there?
Well, the difference between those two is exactly that embodiment.
Okay.
Watching it yourself, well, maybe it's more complex than that. There's Mel Slater in Barcelona who did a study in on fear of dying. And
Okay.
what he did, there are a lot of procedures you can induce embodiment. So it was actually another researcher sitting there, and he felt like he was sitting on a chair in that room. And he felt like, this is my body. He was fully embodied with that avatar. What they then did, they put him out there and they projected, they made a projection so that he was looking at
Yes.
and he was then going up in the room as if he was dead and looking at his body.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff. So he had the experience of, now I'm dying. And the idea was to let people feel, they used it in patients who were almost dying, who were afraid of dying, to let them experience that it is not a bad um, thing, that it's not fearful, that it can be a joyful, I don't know, but at least it's not a frightening
Experience.
experience. And he really felt like, I am going to die. And he describes this in his book, Brendan Spiegel. But it's not as frightful as I thought. So there is a difference between being in that person and looking at that person.
Mm.
But I'm not so sure how um, that may do something with fear, but I'm not
Yeah.
so sure whether it does something with movement. That was, I was so interested in. And
Okay.
when studying movement and when studying measuring movement and when studying people, how they move, I realized that kinesiophobia and fear of movement will be a big thing. So now
Mm.
I'm also starting to think, should I study the differences between being embodied in an avatar or looking at the avatar? But I don't know if that would
Yeah.
be a big difference in our domain, like
Population. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
There's so many aspects to it, isn't there? And from what I understand from you, still so much that we don't know about how that might work and all those other aspects of it.
Exactly. We know that it's used a lot in psychology treatment,
Yes. Yes.
anxiety disorders. So
Yes.
I think it is a very strong medium to treat anxiety disorders. And I mean, kinesiophobia is a little bit an anxiety. I
Yes.
wouldn't call it a disorder. I wouldn't call it a
Yeah,
disorder.
no, but I mean, there's lots of discussions, isn't there, in the shoulder instability space around whether it's fear of movement or fear of re-injury or re-injury anxiety. There's so many different definitions and I guess constructs around. I guess one of the things I always come back to is fear. If somebody is fearful, they run away from the stimulus. But lots of my patients, I think, actually have anxiety because they continue to engage with the fear-provoking stimulus or anxiety-provoking stimulus, but they keep engaged with that, don't they? So they're
True.
the trying to understand the different aspects of fear and anxiety. I think that's also still evolving in our space too, isn't it?
I even think it's difficult for me at this moment to make a difference. That's a very stupid example, but I'm thinking about outcome measures measuring for my study. Do I
Yes,
use Tampa scale or do I use fear avoidance behavior?
yes,
What are we talking about? Is it fear avoidance
yes,
behavior or is it really fear of moving? And then is it fear of moving or is it fear of pain when
yeah,
moving? So
yeah.
I'm still in doubt. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And my experience, I did a qualitative study with Gisela Sol recently looking at trying to understand. I was so naive and I wanted to understand what the fear was. And then now I have better understanding that the impact of a shoulder dislocation is just so immense. It's fear of missing out and hanging out with your friends. It's the fear of the pain. It's the fear of being in that position because then you had to do rehab for so long, and there's so many different factors to it, and it seems to be really individualized in
Yeah.
how we can then study that. I think in my space, because I've been using it at that return to sport level, I've been using the CIRSE, that shoulder instability return to sport index, looking at those different constructs. And we know that in the 12 item questionnaire that fear of re-injury is one of the constructs. And so we've in clinic we would measure the CIRSE before, do our virtual reality, do a debrief, show them the video, and then re-measure their CIRSE. So clinically that's how we've been using it. But
And what happens after VR? Does it
yeah,
change?
that's yes. Yes, as a single one intervention, I guess, and that's our other experience too. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I thought it was going to be, oh, come in and we'll do lots of VR training. But our experience, at least with a couple of patients, has been, oh, I did the tennis and then I could see that I was okay. I don't need to do the VR anymore. I'm okay here now, almost as a one or two
One
session.
or two sessions. Yeah.
Yeah. Has
I
that
had
been your experience?
not one or two, but I usually tend to give the VR headset to patients and say just, exercise at home.
Yes.
And most of them return it after 2 or 3 weeks, but I not because they exercise that long, because I say I see you in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Maybe they would return it earlier. I don't know. But then they say I'm okay now.
Yeah.
It's my clinical experience. And then, as a matter of fact, we can start doing different exercises with resistance bands or dumbbells, which are heavier and maybe more challenging from a strength point of view. And then they are okay. I only
Yeah.
had one person with unbelievable instability. She had, you can't believe it, she had two blanket repairs, one lateral shay, and a posterior stabilization,
Wow.
and still luxating like 2 or 3 times a week, being only how do you call it?
Relocated? No?
Relocate, yeah, brought back in
Yes.
place at the emergency department with
Yes.
fentanyl. So there was something going on. And when I started normal exercises, nothing went. She was like, it's popping out again, it's popping out again.
Yes.
Even though anatomically her shoulder was totally stable,
Yeah, okay.
anatomically. So we put her in VR, and after 3 weeks, it reduced. She only went to ER once in three
Yeah.
weeks. 6 weeks, it was zero. So I felt like,
Yeah.
yes, there. Then she returned the headset. She had all the confidence. But then after 3, 4, 5 weeks not doing VR, it started out again.
Back
So
again. Yeah, it's really individualized maybe. For some people, maybe they just need almost a kickstart, and other people need that more exposure. It's really interesting, eh? And that
yeah,
was that, and the app that you used for that was the reaching for the apples. That's what you, was
in the
that
case
called?
report, yeah, in the
Yes.
case report I published, I used Beat Saber, but after
Yes.
that, I my university started a collaboration with a certain software company, and they developed slow apps like fruit picking,
Okay.
error, a bit of boxing,
Yeah,
uh,
okay.
catching fireflies, which is really
Yes.
slow
Yes.
movement. And I don't, some people say it's boring. So I'd rather have two possibilities. I would
Yes.
love to have off the shelf, Beat Saber, those kind of things.
Yes.
For
Yes.
some, you would need more relaxed
Wow.
foot
Yeah.
movement. So I've been using that quite a lot because people tend to like picking fruits and
Yes.
boxing and keeping balls. Yeah, that's what I've been using until now, but I couldn't tell you whether off the shelf games don't work as good, maybe better. I don't know. Another research question.
I know there's so many. That's the thing with this in this space right now is so many questions around how it works and what's best and what we know then. What do you think clinicians should do? What's your advice right now in this space? I mean, it's moving very quickly. What should clinicians do? What's your advice to them?
That's a good question. Now, listen, those things have been very, very expensive
Yes.
until some years ago. So I always thought nobody's buying them. But since the prices are much lower and it's more affordable, it's easy to purchase in stores, at least here in Europe, and I guess it's the
Yes.
same in New Zealand.
Yes.
Uh, uh, Now the clinic I'm working in, we till last year we said let's first see what science tells us. But the more articles are published and the more my clinical experience and my scientific experience evolve, I said to my manager, yeah, we're gonna buy it now.
Yeah.
So, um, and now we are choosing between off the shelf, buying our own devices, and going with a company that then offers full support, technical support, and
Okay.
software. We don't know yet, but I think, and at least in Europe, in the Netherlands, we I guess in 10 years or maybe earlier, we don't have enough physiotherapists to cope the healthcare that needs to be delivered.
Yes. Okay.
And I think we are, for at least a part of the people already now, we can say it's effective for some aspects in rehab. And I hope me and my colleagues studying virtual reality can show that it is effective.
Yes.
And then think about all the people doing exercises then at home in their own
Yes.
time, in their own space. We lower carb emission. They're more self-managing. Um, yeah, I think it's part of the future. I won't say VR will beat all and will beat us and will be the new physio. Probably not, but it will be a big help.
A big adjunct. And there's so much in New Zealand, lots of people live remotely. They live in
Yeah.
small towns away from, large centers. I think there's probably a space in that space in the future, isn't there, for using VR and tracking different types of maybe wearables. Do you have any thoughts just while we're talking about this around what the future looks like, or even artificial intelligence and where we're going in that space in healthcare? I know you went to a conference recently around, it was a virtual reality conference.
It was
Where are we heading?
VR. Yeah, it was the VMAT 25 in LA, and I felt like I was in a Matrix. For those ones who still know what a Matrix is, I've been bored in times of Matrix. Um, I I sense that we are moving from immersive virtual reality to augmented reality, which
Okay.
is a 3D projection onto the real world. Uh,
Yes.
but I'm not so sure if those two do the same things. But I've seen um, augmented reality in Parkinson rehab, where you could understand, you could sense that in Parkinson patients, you don't want them to fall over things or lose their balance. You want them to move safely. And if they just can see their normal space and
Yes.
then obstacles are projected into their normal space, it's much safer for them, for example.
Yes.
So in
Yes.
a lot of things, we might move from immersive virtual reality to augmented reality, also because it's very easy to project augmented reality into smart glasses. I've seen presentations on the evolution of smart glasses looking like Ray-Bans,
Yeah.
where you can project augmented reality into your glasses, uh,
Yes.
glasses with bone conduction here, and software that whispers literally everything over your patient into your ear. I mean, it
Yeah.
goes, and that's AI driven.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities and so moving so fast. I'm pretty sure in the next year conference they tell you new things.
Completely something
And
different
it,
again.
yeah,
Can you just explain to clinicians the difference between augmented reality and immersive? How are those differences, just so they understand the terms?
yeah. What I at the moment tend to explain VR is that it's not called virtual reality anymore. It's actually called extended reality,
Okay.
XR. And XR encompasses full immersion, like we were talking now, and the headsets. It's mixed reality and augmented reality. Like augmented reality is more a projection, a 3D computer generated projection onto your real world, like Pokemon Go. Everybody knows that. You have your phone, the Pokemon is in your phone, but you see it in the real world, but you cannot
Yes.
interact with it. It's just a
Yes.
projection. Mixed reality is an augmented reality version, but you can interact with it. You can touch it. You
Mm-hmm.
can change it. It's not very common yet. And there's full immersive virtual reality, having a headset, you're totally lost in a 3D computer generated world,
Yeah.
360 degrees of view. And with your headsets and even, with your hand controllers, but even without hand controllers, some then pick up your hands, you can interact with the world where you're living in, which is
Yeah.
very multisensory, a multisensory feedback you're receiving because you're moving, you're hearing, you're seeing, you're feeling. There are haptic gloves as well. So these are the three
Different
possibilities
types.
of
Yeah.
extended reality. Yeah,
Yeah. And I guess as we start to understand more about that, maybe each of those different options will be better for different conditions
I
as
think
well.
so. I
Yeah.
think so. We just
Yeah.
don't know yet which one is best for whom, but let's first find out if it works and who benefits most. And then
That's
we
the
see which
problem, isn't
technology.
it?
Yeah, and then we
Because
see which
like
technology
this
works best.
space is moving so quickly, though. The designs and the ideas and all that stuff is moving so quickly, and the research is struggling to understand.
It is
Yeah,
because you might read now quite some studies saying it has moderate effect or it has no effect also. But if you look at the technology they're using, often they use the name VR, but talking about the V or the PlayStation,
okay.
which is called virtual reality, but it's two-dimensional, it's non-immersive, it's so different. So I think now, maybe the last year and the upcoming years, I think we'll see many, many more papers being published with immersive virtual reality.
Mm. But the
Yeah,
challenge then is by the time, because research, it takes time, doesn't it? And you have to recruit firstly, you get your ethics, then you recruit your patients, then you have to get all your data, then you analyze your data, and then you finally get around to maybe a conference presentation and then publishing a paper. Like the space for that is 3 years, and at least. And in that time, like the virtual reality world or the augmented reality world has moved so quickly that
Exactly.
how do we
Exactly.
make sure we're not producing out of date research? What's our plan there for understanding these concepts, but also keeping relevant is a real challenge.
Me. I would like to know. Yeah, well, we have this discussion at the moment because my colleague has used a headset for his lower back study. He's got a lot of them, but it's the Pico 3. We now have the Pico 4 and 4 Plus.
Yes.
So am I going, because they're there, now to use the Pico 3, or do I need now to use the Pico 4? Because when I finish my study, there will be a 5-6.
Yes.
Three won't even probably play the apps we are using now, like the
Yeah.
smartphone, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's also a funding problem. Yeah, that's
It's
research.
a challenge. Well, it is research though, isn't it? And I think
So we've been
that
discussing this a lot, and it also it might influence a bit your choice of study design, because
yes,
we all know running a randomized controlled trial or long cohort study takes you for years. But we
yes,
could choose, and I see that more and more, different study designs like single case experiments, multiple
yes,
baseline designs, which offer you the possibility to use less participants,
yes,
in loads of data, but in
yes.
less participants. External validity is probably a little bit lesser, but it's next to randomized control, systematic reviews of randomized control trial. A single of number one case experiment is even strong to show effectiveness. Does
Mm,
something work or not?
mm. I think
I
what's really interesting is across the different sides of the world, our clinical experience using this is really similar, isn't it?
it is, yeah,
That's really interesting to hear. You know that when you show your patient something, they might need it for a few weeks, and that the value in showing your patients a recording of them how they were moving in that immersive world. That seems for me to be the similarities that maybe
that's funny
we
because
should explore.
that hasn't been published yet.
Yeah.
Nobody speaks about the simulation debriefing in papers, and still you we're using it, and I am using it out of
Yes.
intuitively. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It seems, yeah, my clinical experience is that that is probably like you say, the gold bit. So that is the bit that the patient suddenly has this, and maybe it's the cognitive dissonance that you create because they think they are doing the same, but when you then show them evidence that they were doing something different, then maybe that's the shift because they have to reconcile the cognitive dissonance.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. What then? I was asking myself, what does change then? Does your body perception then change? Your movement perception? Um, I don't know. I remember my first time I had this experience. I was so overwhelmed by what the patient could. And
yeah.
I was like a child. I was like, see what you can do. Maybe that was the effect. And she was like, huh? Is 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 that
It means,
me?
yeah,
And and then the question comes, I don't know how you respond to that, but then people say, how comes? How
yeah,
what's wrong with me? How comes? And the question, what's wrong with me, just stuck with me, because I thought like, no, 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 you're not doing anything wrong.
yeah.
So
What do
I
you
really,
say to them when they say that?
I'm very honest. I start with, actually, I don't really know. But then I laugh a little bit, and I tell them about destruction. It gives you a great opportunity and a window to explain a bit of persistent pain
Yes,
and nociplastic pain, the
yes,
changes in the brain. And this is such a strong medium to tell them there must be happening something in your brain as well. Because, a ruptured tendon or a tendonitis or whatever they think they have doesn't change in a minute.
yes.
So I even now ask them what they think, what
Yeah,
happened.
okay. Yeah,
then the story comes like, I'm not afraid to move because I don't see where my arm is in space, which I
Yeah.
really find such a strong answer from them.
Yes.
I this is the way I now try to do it. I say I don't know. I think it's distraction. It's definitely going something in the brain, and it's normal. I always tell
Yes.
them it's normal. It's very common. And then I ask them, so what do you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Which
And
is
it's all
incredibly powerful, isn't it, with regards to their self-belief and their self-efficacy and how you are shifting that,
we
isn't
could
it?
add up with studies saying that one time VR and seeing the change in movement and debriefing could be enough. I don't know. I
Yeah.
really don't know. But there are people, we forget that thing. I don't know how your experience is with that, but I have people that say, oh, I don't like exercises. They're so tiring and they're so boring. And
Mm.
then I give them the VR, not because they're not
Yes.
able to move, because otherwise
They're
they
bored.
wouldn't do exercise. They love it. It's
Because it's
game.
fun, isn't
It's
it?
fun.
It's
Yeah.
really fun. So it's like gamifying your rehab, I guess. That's a completely different element that we haven't even discussed.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
gamifying rehab. It's fun. It's not doing exercise. It's engaging in movement in games. And we
Yes.
all know that the games played most on telephones or whatever are games where you win
Yes, okay.
or you shoot someone down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the games our kids play.
Yeah.
Um, and then you win something.
Yes, okay.
Points or healing points or whatever those kids win in Fortnite. That
Yes.
makes them addicted to go on with those games. And I tend to see the same in patients. They love Beat Saber because they win and they go further, they go more points, they can win
Yes.
against others. So we tend to forget that,
Yes.
why people would rather play Beat Saber than doing external rotation exercises.
Yes, it's not a difficult choice, isn't it? When
Oh, is
with the
it? No.
music and all the movements. Beate, it's
Yeah.
been so wonderful talking with you on this. Do you have any closing comments for clinicians? What do you think? Where are we heading? What's the future? What should they look out for? Should they rush off and invest in a virtual reality unit? What do you think is important for clinicians at home to understand?
I would say don't be afraid of this new technology. Don't
Yeah.
think it takes away your job or it, it helps. It's maybe a perfect adjunct to your therapy, and just try,
Yeah.
experience it yourself first, and and once you think you're gonna buy it and try it, know it, know the games, know how you enter it, know how it works, so you can help patients with that
Yeah,
tech.
okay.
But
Yeah.
just don't be afraid, and just try it for yourself and see if it helps you now. And the evidence will come.
Yeah,
Hopefully soon.
eventually we will catch up with the research. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
then
It's just
people could try it and see if they like it and really have that experience. Because our clinical experience is that it's a great adjunct to other rehabilitation.
definitely, definitely. And what we haven't talked about, well, maybe you should meet next year again, um, is the whole relaxation part. There have now been studies done on neurophysiological responses like effects on heart rate variability, blood pressure,
Yeah.
heartbeat, stress, and anxiety levels only by swimming with dolphins, or listening to a Mozart concert, but being in the concert hall virtually.
Yes. Wow.
That is another aspect we haven't been talked about, but you could think
Yeah.
of in chronic pain patients.
Yeah. So
Um,
similarly, that we could create that neurophysiological experience where I'm trying to make people frightened, we could also make people relaxed, go the other way.
there's
Exactly.
much evidence for that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
um, yeah, if people, the people you would give headspace on the phone or give mindfulness apps,
Yes.
I haven't studied it yet, but I guess that they would love to swim in the ocean with dolphins or relax on the
Yes.
beach and doing breathing exercises in the virtual world. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
incredibly powerful, isn't it? And I think there's so much still to come in this space. So thanks very much for sharing with us what you know, and we look forward to connecting with you again in the future to see, because the space is moving so quickly. It will be
It
great to,
is. It was so
yeah.
great to talk to you about your experiences because I haven't had a lot of colleagues doing VR in shoulder rehab. So it's great to see that we kind of both have the same experiences in different
Yeah,
stages.
that's been
I'll try late stage now. So I guess I hope you try early stage
exactly.
from now
Exactly.
on.
I think there's something to take on board. So thanks very much for your time. That's been wonderful.
Thank you for inviting me for this podcast.
Thanks for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've really enjoyed this content. You found some clinically useful tidbits, and some of the content has been thought-provoking. Don't forget you can follow me on my social media for some more up-to-date content. If you're looking for a shoulder brace, you can check that out via our shoulder braces on flawlessmotion.com. And if you wanted an online shoulder course, then I have a range of shoulder courses, through from an introductory shoulder course through to return to sport and a shoulder instability course. You can access these courses on margieolds.com or flawlessmotion.com. That's flawlessmotion.com. And every course comes with a complimentary question and answer session so we can drill into your understanding of the key concepts of the course. You can also join our Facebook group, Glenohumeral Gurus, and follow along for the conversations and discussions on this page. And otherwise, I look forward to you joining us for the next podcast. Thanks for your time. Until then, stay well, take care.